Hey, so I've just been hanging out with some of my old acting friends on South Bank, which is really, really cool. We drank some cider, we sat on deck chairs. Yes, as soon as it gets in any way warm in Britain, deck chairs appear in inappropriate places. And when I say old actor friends, I mean like I used to act with them, but they're still acting. We're hanging out with a guy who's currently at RADA, hanging out with my friend Daniel Y, who is a comedian, hanging out with my friend Teddy, who is an amazing director and actor. And weirdly, I started thinking about this question that somebody asked me: how does it feel to be a role model? Or do you consider yourself a role model? And that's one of the questions I was asked quite early at the beginning, and I've been mulling it over ever since, just because like it's a really awkward question to answer however you decide to reply. So like if I say, yes, I actually really like being a role model, it's really like, it really gets me up in the morning, that would, one, make me sound like an asshole, and at the same time disqualify me from being a role model. But if I go, I'm not a role model, I'm actually really awful, I'm terrible, then I'm a bad role model because I'm somebody who doesn't believe in themselves or back up their own self-worth. I'm somebody who can't accept praise or isn't really sure why they're doing something. Because as well, like, to be fair, when you put your opinion, when anyone puts their opinion out in the world, there is a level to which you're admitting that you want other people to think the same as you, or you want them to be influenced by you, or you think that your way of thinking could help, and that is gonna have some arrogance behind it. But it also made me think about this idea of role, and like people's idea of actors, and whether they're genuine. And I think the idea of authenticity is really, really big on YouTube, but is it really what we think it is? I bought this book today called Pretentiousness, Why It Matters by Dan Fox. When I bought this book, the bookseller looked at me and my friend Teddy, and said, yeah, I can't imagine why you two would buy this book. Offensive. But yeah, I've been reading it on the tube home and I'm really enjoying it, and it made me think of two things. So Bertolt Brecht, I discovered Bertolt Brecht when I was first like getting into drama, and I was in the Caucasian short circle at school. I studied him again at uni and I bloody love him, and he has this idea of epic theatre that he developed in Berlin. Bertolt Brecht was like a massive Marxist, and like I don't really agree with everything he says, but he had a really interesting way of thinking about theatre in that he wanted people to know that it was a pretense, like this kind of naturalist Garrick way of acting, where you try and be as natural and present as convincingly as possible. That wasn't Bertolt's bag. He thought that if you got too swept up and the action became too believable on stage, people would miss the point of a play, or they'd go away and be so swept up in the emotion that they wouldn't change something, because all of his plays are really political. This idea of epic theatre meant that he wanted you to be aware that everything you saw on stage was an artifice. Now with YouTube, this is really interesting, because I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of YouTubers do this now. Just syncing the audio, or you'll see them reach in and turn it on and turn it off. You also get to see backstage in their life. You see follow me around videos and get ready with me videos, and videos where you're literally shown the set being set up. And to me, that's a really interesting epic theatre style way of communicating with an audience, because it's showing you, reminding you that it's not real, reminding you that you don't automatically have audio, reminding me that you're reaching in and turning something on to record. We're not permanently on, we're not permanently mic'd. Most YouTubers, hopefully me included, are literally showing you that we are playing a role. And I think when we think about role models, it's important to acknowledge that you're not inherently a perfect or good person. You are literally playing a role in somebody's life. When I say this person is my role model, I'm still putting myself in the foreground. The role model is the Maggie Smith, the wise character, the usually quite one-dimensional in the background, influencing me. And that's not a bad thing, that's okay. But it is when I accept the term role model, I'm accepting that that makes me a little bit two-dimensional, and it makes me into an artifice and a thing that's playing a role for you. And that's okay, because with that comes the recognition that I'm not actually that thing, or I'm not completely that thing. This book, from what I've read of it, talks about what's bad with pretending. This pre-tense is this before you become something, you are exploring it. It's a childlike way of exploring the world. It's playing a role, mimicking to see what fits, looking at people you admire and seeing what parts of them you can model yourself on. The book goes on to talk about Shakespeare and this all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players line, which is in fact actually taken from the motto of the Globe Theatre before Shakespeare wrote it down, which was the whole world is a playhouse. Some literary critic, apparently called Lionel Trilling, held the view that in Shakespeare's era people acted as part of a rigid social system. So Shakespeare saying that wasn't going, go out and be anything and do anything. And this literary critic's theory is that he was more saying everyone is literally a little like an actor, adhering to a set of external gestures learned from manuals of rhetoric. If you were true to the persona you're presenting to others, then you could commit no falsehood. Being sincere to thine own self, as the line from Hamlet goes, was the most important moral aspiration, and the morality was derived from the external sources, your place in the social hierarchy, and ultimately God. And then it goes on to say how the Enlightenment changed that, and I haven't got to that bit yet. But yeah, the idea of individualism was very different in Shakespeare's day, and it's really interesting when people say that I have been a role model for them, because it implies this, like, I don't know, I feel like if I accept it, it implies this really bad thing where I'm like, people copy me, be like me, I am a role model. When actually, like, our idea of, like, who we are individually, and if it's bad to copy other people, and if it's bad not to be authentic, is, like, really modern and new and not necessarily always helpful. But I do like this idea of what this guy said in the book about how you can't commit a falsehood if you are acting up to your role. How well you act or how well you fulfill a role is kind of how good you are. And, like, it's weird because I do like some of my videos, but sometimes I watch them back and I don't remember saying that thing, or I listen to myself saying that thing and go, oh, that's quite clever, where did I get that from? I don't know. And I often forget my own advice and I often don't follow it. And I often need to hear the words that I've said myself in videos again, because I slip up and I fail all the time. So really, if I have to give advice to myself, am I really that great at all? But I'm not pretending when I say those things. I'm not stealing them from anywhere, and I never feel like I'm being false when I'm online. I just know that I often present my best self. And as long as you guys know that too, then that's fine. When somebody gives you a compliment and you immediately feel like you have to correct them, is that really right? Because if they've seen something good in you, that probably means that it's true. And reminding them that you're not like that all the time, or like sometimes you slip up, or, oh no, you've got it all wrong, I'm actually not that great, might not be correct. What is so bad with setting yourself high standards? What is so bad about letting other people set high standards for you? What is so bad about accepting a compliment? Because at some points you have reached a peak. When you're an Olympic runner, you take the medal for the time you ran the fastest, and you carry that medal throughout your whole life, and you go, hey, medal winner, medal winner. But really you only peaked once. There was only one point when you were that good, and we're so ready to demand consistent great performances from ourselves that we forget that when we make role models in our lives, we're literally taking the best parts of them and trying to emulate them and role play with them. When you say, oh, I'm a role model for you, what you're really saying is, I agree with the way you see the world, and I agree with the way you think the world should be, and I am the same as you. And then that makes me feel not better than you, but less alone. And I hope you know that I'm not perfect, but I'm also not lying. I'm just hoping that you are joining me in the middle ground. And I guess I'm hoping that you will accept my invitation of sitting in the middle ground about that. So that's what I think about role models. I am making 40 videos during Lent. You can watch the playlist by clicking here. Ooh, I can make a video about my role models. Ooh, that'd be cool. Ooh, tell me if you want me to make that below, and also tell me who your role models are, because I might want to steal them. Thanks for watching. Frog Snog out.
I've got a scary story to tell, children. One day you'll realize that everything you were told as a child's a lie. You're not special. You won't achieve anything. Mummy and Daddy broke up because of you. You moved away from the... I'm crying cider. Ah!